What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So welcome to Wednesday's episode. So it is our discussion episode. So Monday and Tuesday are topics. Monday, we discussed how Ring or one of their vendors may have a data breach, Ring being a subsidiary of Amazon. So definitely check that out. They say that they weren't breached. The ransomware gang says we definitely got you. So it's a whole bunch of back and forth. Then Tuesday, we discussed how the NBA and all its various leagues, spanning 215 countries, 50 different languages, has lost PII. So emails and names, right? Was it emails and names? Were leaked for potentially tens of millions. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big league with lots of fans. So just be cautious in the future. Hover over those links. Don't click those links. And in the future, if you get anything from the NBA, because you're a big NBA head, fan out there, just be cautious. Because you could be susceptible to a phishing attempt or victim of ransomware in the near future. So definitely tune in for that episode. And then on Fridays, we talk about everything else. So movies, books, TV, games, all that good stuff, everything but cybersecurity. So that's when we get to unwind. So tune in for that one. That'll be our next episode. But without further ado, today's discussion comes from an article from the Black Wall Street Times. So that is the blackwallstreettimes.com. It is entitled White House host roundtable with Black cybersecurity experts. You love to see it. That's why we have the podcast, right? Like to see people of color who have made it to C-suite and senior level positions, who are now guests of the White House to discuss the future of cybersecurity and the role that people of color, specifically in this case, Black people, will play in that and shaping that. So this article was written by Naheem. I'm gonna mess your name up. Nehemiah, thank you, Frank. So Nehemiah Frank wrote this article. And what I want to pull from it was, okay, so it says cybersecurity as a profession for Black Americans. So in the article, he writes, cybersecurity is quickly becoming a vibrant and essential field for Black Americans, allowing them to be at the forefront of a rapidly changing world. This can involve anything from developing new IT strategies to defending against cyber attacks, making it an extremely versatile career. The opportunities for Black professionals in this area are immense as the demand for talented professionals continues to rise. According to the Cyber Crime magazine, it's estimated that there will be 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs available around the world. This includes over 715,000 in the US alone. So we keep talking about this, right? We talk about the pipelines being built to bring STEM into our communities. We talk about how big business, so you have your Apples, your Microsofts, your Bell Souths, establish themselves on campuses of HBCUs to pull that talent in. We talk about the Department of Defense, specifically the Air Force, is now building a pipeline to bring in more professionals that are people of color into the DoD to create new tech and R&D in the cybersecurity field, specifically, I believe it was in engineering for the Air Force. We talk about all these strives to make this happen. And now you see initiative by the White House as well to bring in these professionals to discuss cybersecurity and to basically provide access. So I posted this on LinkedIn and trying to generate a conversation, but I saw someone already had a string going on. It had like 50 comments in it. And I jumped in there to see kind of what people were talking about. And most of it was positive. And not to say this was negative, but I saw a gentleman who in there, he was like, if cybersecurity is this booming field and it doesn't depend on specific races and colors and basically, like, why are we having this conversation? Like, everybody should be able to strive and do well in this field. And like, just because you guys make up 8% now doesn't mean that you're stuck there, yada, yada, yada. And I get that. And I can appreciate his very well balanced look at it. However, access, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about access, right? Like people get hired into these positions uh, to do these big projects and to lead these initiatives based upon the relationships that they make. So this is them making relationships and access for Black people specifically at the highest of levels, right? The White House is hosting this. So that's what we're talking about. We're not saying that people are not able to join the field because of oppression and systemic racism and things of that nature, which that could be the case in some of those cases. What we're saying in this article purely is a means of access. Like typically you hire people based upon character and the relationships that you built and people that you know. That's how you get to your resume to the front of the line. It's based upon relationships, and that this is what this is building. It's getting people into the field to be in those positions to make those hires. Because like just because there's 3.5 million jobs available doesn't mean that there isn't 9 million people applying for those jobs, right? So what I learned through the hiring process was it is very hard to get a resume through the system, and it's very hard to get that resume in front of a person who's going to look at it for more than 10 to 20 seconds. But if you already build a relationship, you get to meet people and talk to them, you actually get to speak to somebody in an interview, that is how you get hired, not your resume. So what do you think about this, Shannon?
It was good, man. And you brought up a good point there, like with the 3.5 and the 9, just throwing the number out there, right? Like that is true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And getting the foot in the door and the social networking aspect of it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Is what you're speaking to. That's very true, right? Like I'm not going to say a lot of the times, but it seems like it happens more often than it should, that it's who you know, not what you know what I mean? But to the point you made about that comment, and I know how this is going to come off. I don't want to come off like this. I don't want nobody to pull my card. You know what I mean? Let me keep it. But it kind of has a point, right? Because even in this article, they talk about Craig Newmark of Craig Newmark Philanthropies, and he's doubling his philanthropic commitment to fighting cyber threats. He's increasing it from 50 million to 100 million. Now, Craig Newmark is not a Black man, Black woman, whatever, right? He is a Jewish
Right.
male. You know what I mean? So like he's actually in the picture. So for this article, if you look up in the third row, because I looked him up, I was looking up, the thing. If you look up in the third row, the guy with the Kango right there, that's him.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
okay.
so yeah, that's the guy. So he was there, and like I said, doubling, like putting your money where your mouth is. That's kind of what we always say, right? Like it's good to have these conversations and everything. The conversations are always good. It's always a good start, but 50 million to 100 million. I mean, this is from a private citizen that has a
Yeah.
philanthropy that does a philanthropy effort. You know what I mean? So that's good money to put behind that. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of agree with what he's saying, but I think that's the goal, is to get to the point where it's not based on race. You know what I mean? But that's not the reality of what it is
Right.
right now, right? So again, don't pull my card. You know what I mean? Don't have the people come get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's this is a very good effort. And again, they're putting money behind it, right? $90 million for cybersecurity efforts, right? For the Biden-Harris administration. So this is what we always want to see, right? And like I said, we do want to get to that point where it's not a big deal. And something else that was referenced in the article is something that we brought up in the past. So they brought up I believe I don't know if she's the current mayor or the former mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms of Atlanta. I
Yes.
can't remember. I can't remember if she's current or former. I can't remember, but she was actually here for this, and she was talking about, because Atlanta, when it got hit 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say maybe it was 2018, I think it was. This was when the city of Atlanta got hit. It was the largest cybersecurity attack in the municipal attack on a municipality in U.S. history. Man, I can't speak today either, man. It's spreading, but and she was there talking about it, and something she brought up, she said, thankfully someone had the forethought to get cyber insurance. And we've talked about that on the show, right? Like getting cyber insurance to kind of protect yourself against these types of things, right? And this was something somebody had the forethought to do back 5 years ago. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's because we're already being attacked at that point, but not to that level. And I didn't even know what a cyber insurance was. And back then, that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, right. Like it wasn't until we did the show on it that it was like, man, it was not something I was tracking that much either. You know what I mean? So, but it is a good thing. But no, it's always a good thing to be inclusive like this, right? So it's one of those things where the reason this happened the way it did is because the person that's in charge, his name is escaping me. I know it's in the article, but is a
Mhm.
black male, right? So, oh man, trying to find his name, but yeah, he's the one that set all of this up, and nope, she's a deputy cyber director. But yes, this is how it happens. You know what I mean? So like when you have, it's just like we've talked about before. People tend to they gravitate to what they already know, right? So like if it would have been, a white male in this position that set this up, that went to Harvard or Yale, whatever, you may not have had all these people um, that are black that came from HBCUs or lesser known
Right.
colleges.
Right. That would have
It,
been his pipeline. It would have been all Ivy League.
there it
Well,
is.
potentially, right? Like I hate to speak in matter of facts, right? Because we don't know, but it's just it's like being a kid and you go to the lunch table, right? Like some people went to school and they had very diverse lunch tables. Other people went to school and you had the black table, you had the white table, you had the Hispanic table. Like people like to be around other people from their culture because they can build ties and relationships in that nature, right? It's just we're kind of tribalist. Like no matter how far we feel we've evolved, that's unfortunately still the case. That's part of the human condition. So if you want to grow it past 8%, you're gonna have to start putting very, like, not to say that you're finding people who lack the talent, you're finding people who have the talent from that community, right? They're already phenomenal at what they do. They just so happen to not have access at this point. So you put those people, give them a chance, a bridge, a hand up to put them in those positions, and then it'll start to grow. It'll go from 8% to 16% to potentially, far more reaching than that, 97%. I kid, but it seems to have worked that way already in coming to this impasse that we're currently at, right? Like most of cybersecurity, it happens to look and sound like one particular group. And that's because relationships that were built, pipelines that were used, things of that nature. So now we're just trying to diversify, right? We want more women in cyber. We want more people of color in cyber. Next week, we'll have a discussion about Native Americans and cybersecurity. Like a really good article popped up. I didn't want to go back to back this week because then it's a good discussion to have next week. And we should have or not just Native Americans, but it's just women and cybersecurity in general. But the article was about Native American women and Black women. And we should have a co-host next week that can speak better to it than the two very handsome bearded gentlemen right here on the podcast. So, but yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Shannon. But yeah, it's about building those relationships.
No. Those are excellent points, man. Like you hit it on, man. Like you explained it better than I could. You know what I mean? So, uh, but to the name, Kimba Walden is who she is. So she's the acting
Okay.
national cyber director, Kimba Walden. So black and a woman, right? So that's two of the minority boxes checked off. So
Right. And then she can find talent that she's better and closely related to pull more of these people into cybersecurity. So that's all I'm saying. Like, and I wrote this really long post to this gentleman. I was about to hit the button, and something happened where I switched from Wi-Fi to cellular, and it dropped my post. When I came back up, it was blank, and I was like, that was God. That was the universe saying, don't start arguing with this guy on the internet. Because he meant well, but he is speaking about where we want to be in the future, not where we're currently at. And that's the thing I was trying to get across, but I wrote this really long 3-paragraph message, and it's still going to get lost because you're going to read it with a tone and inflection that you want to read it in rather than how I spoke it, right, in my own head, because it's not a real interaction with people. That's why I don't do a whole lot of uh, commenting back and forth on the internet, because you're going to read it the way you want to read it, right? The person could be the nicest person in the world, and you're like, he is, this ism. It's just the way it is. Like you can't do it in 140 characters on the tweet, and you can't do it in 3 paragraphs on LinkedIn. You actually just had to have a conversation with a human being. So, and that's what happened here at the White House. They had conversations with actual human beings to try to get us some progress and to make strides. And yes, Keisha Lance Bottoms is the current mayor. She's the incumbent.
I couldn't remember. I think she's term limited though. Like, I don't think she can run for the next one. I'm not sure. And I thought they had an election. I could be wrong on that. I could be thinking something.
Yeah, maybe because it says she's the 60th mayor of Atlanta. She's been in office from 2018, and then it says her office will end January 3rd, 2022. But then it says she assumed office June 2022. So I think she's on her second term or something like that.
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd love to see it. I think it was a great article. We've run past the 15 minutes, so I'm probably going to break this in half, but that's fine. That's what the discussion is for. But yeah, I'd love to see it. I hope to see more of it. And hopefully people listen to the part 2 on LinkedIn. Because I see, actually, I hope they listen to part 1. I see people, like when I post it for whatever reason, they watch the part 2, but they don't go back and watch the part 1. It always has more views. I don't understand. I don't understand how metrics work. You watched it in reverse. And I say part 1, part 2, but I don't know. I digress. I love the LinkedIn community because they definitely support the podcast just as much as the audio listeners. Now YouTube has a handful of people. Like there's not a lot of people who watch us on YouTube. Like you have like Mike Ware, and oh man, I can't remember the gentleman's last name, but it's like Nathaniel. He leaves comments. But yeah, I get like maybe 10 views on YouTube as opposed to a lot more audio listeners, which is fine. But I don't know why LinkedIn is more popular than YouTube for whatever reason. But maybe we're just drowned out by lesser podcasts. All right. We are the world's greatest podcast in cybersecurity. And I could say that and not get sued because there's no metric.
Are you sure? Okay.
I'm pretty sure I can say that and not get sued. I don't think anybody's been awarded. It may be more specific. We are the world's greatest cybersecurity and DE&I podcasts in the world.
Okay.
That's how I should leave it out. That's how I should leave every episode. Welcome to the world's greatest cybersecurity and DE&I podcast. I'm your host. But no, I think this is a great article. I love to see it. I think next week's discussion will be also really good. And I'm glad we have somebody who can talk to it, right? Hopefully everything works out. If not, then we can talk to it ourselves. But it's entitled "Natives Rising Winds Backing to Help Native Americans into Tech and Startups." So it's gonna be a really good discussion. So tune in for that one next week. Usually I don't already have that one queued up for the following week, but it like literally hit the day, and I was like, I'm gonna use it next week, which goes into this being the month. What's it called? Man, drawing a blank.
Women's Appreciation.
Women's Appreciation Month, or is it
Women's? Or it's called, man, should know this.
You about to get in trouble?
Yeah, boy.
We both got wives, so
I know,
and mothers and daughters.
But I appreciate her. It's Women Appreciation Month. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you better say it with confidence.
Yeah, I know. Women Appreciation Month. I knew I was right.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely good to go back to back like that. Like hopefully there'll be another article and another article. But definitely continue to tune in, hit us up at all of the websites that go by our name. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, and Twitter. Definitely tune in for tomorrow's episode or Friday's episode, depending on when you listen to this, where we talk about everything but cyber. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. With that being said, stay safe, stay secure.